Hi guys, it's Rachel from Spunky Misfit Girl. Today I thought I'd show you a little bit, kind of the first stages of how I make my envelope journals. And basically this is the end product. You might have seen them in some of my other videos. It's a flip out with the cover here, and it folds out like this. Little pocket in here, and then your pockets on the back. And that's kind of the end result of what we're gonna start with, the kind of the structure and the body of how this works. And we're gonna do it with using the opera themed kit that I have in my shop, some papers that I designed. So basically I had these envelopes. The way this came about is I had kind of these envelopes that are about, they're not quite 7 1/4 by 5 1/4 is the size on these. And I used up all the cards and was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with all these envelopes. And ultimately started making journals out of them. And it's great fun. And it's a nice little project. Doesn't take too terribly long, and they come out really beautifully. So I have 3 of this size, and then I have 1 of this smaller, more rectangular flap style of envelope that makes that pocket in the middle. So, I mean, you're gonna be able to do this with other kinds of envelopes if you want, but if you wanna find this exact type and size of envelope so that you can make it exactly like this, feel free. I sometimes like, especially when I'm doing something for the first time, to just match what I saw in the tutorial. So I've inked my edges. I do like to do that. I'm using Tim Holtz Vintage Photo on this one. I tend to also do a lot of inking with this Ranger archival ink, which I think ultimately is also a Tim Holtz brand, at least at this point. So on this guy, I've gone around these 3 edges as well as the back all the way around. And then on each one of these, it's slightly different. So you need 1 envelope that's going to have, just be inked absolutely everywhere on every single edge, all the way around, on the inside. 1 envelope that doesn't need its flap inked, but all the way around and the inside. And then 1 that doesn't need the flap or the inside, because the way you're gonna put it together, you're not gonna see those. So that's just gonna go around here. And I actually have to check. I'm not sure if we want that one inked or not. Okay, so, and then this guy, actually, before you ink it, you're gonna wanna cut it off, because so that the end side of the envelope is what forms your pocket. So I just, cut off like a 1/4 inch here off the end of your envelope. And then do try to fold your journal properly before you close it. Those roses are too lovely to hide away. Okay, so once you have your envelopes all inked and this guy cut up and inked, and you're at this stage with me, what you're gonna wanna do is your guy that has his flap all inked up and is inked up everywhere is gonna be your 3/8 inch envelope. And I have managed to lose my pencils. It's ridiculous. Somehow they're all gone. I had 3. And now I have none. So you're gonna want to measure, and this is in an area that's gonna kind of be seen, so I'm trying to avoid Okay, so you're gonna wanna measure from the flap. This guy's gonna get 3/8 inches. 1, 2, and 3. And you're gonna score along that line. And then, just double checking so I don't mess this up with these other two. So that's gonna be your outside guy over here because he's got the biggest amount of room in there. And so then you're gonna put your, one of these guys is gonna get 2/8 inch spine and the other is gonna get a 1/8 inch spine, just like what we just did with that, but 2/8 and 1/8. And I believe we've got our 1/8 inch spine, which is our cover, which needs inking here. So on your guy who has no inking on his flap, but is inked on the inside, we're gonna measure 1/8 inch. There's a teeny tiny little spine in there. And actually, it is not true that these will be seen, I don't think. I probably could have done it in pen and that would have been fine. I'm sorry about my voice today. I've been sick recently, probably with COVID, and I'm still kind of in recovery. And so then for your last guy that doesn't have any inking beyond the outside edges, you're gonna want to give it 2/8 or 1/4 of an inch. Ooh, the sun's going down and, no, it must be clouds. It's too early for the sun to be going down, but the light just changed in here very drastically. So I'm scoring along each of these, and then I'm just gonna fold along the score line. And that's gonna form a nice little spine for each of these envelopes. And I'm gonna use my bone folder here to come along these. I'm gonna lay nice and flat on all 3 of these. This is my little guy. Finding my score line. And this is my 3/8 inch, my outside guy. Flatten him down. All right, so the first two you're gonna put together to start forming the base of your journal is your tiny little 1/8 inch and your 2/8 inch, right? And so ultimately, it's really nice to have a reference to kind of see how this is gonna end up ultimately. And this is your cover here and your middle here. So these are gonna go like this basically, right? But I'm gonna flip them this way in order to put it together because it's a little easier. So now I have experimented with a lot of different things in terms of adhesives. And I will say that I don't like to use too much of any kind of glue that's really wet for these because, you know, they're just paper and it can be, there's certain types of glue that show up very bright and shiny so that every mistake shows. there's a lot of different issues with that. So at first I was using tape runners, but I had a lot of problems with those coming up. I know some crafters like to use really sticky double-sided tape. And I have this Sukwang stuff that I got from Amazon that's made in Korea that seems to stick very well, but I haven't quite gotten used to using it yet. I'm still a little, I don't love it. It's tricky. So basically what I've been doing, and this is a Scotch permanent glue stick. Now, I don't believe that it's permanent. I think they actually dry and lift up. So what I've been doing, but because they're not so gluey and wet and sticky, they're nice. So what I've been doing is using those kind of, especially for my edges, to make sure that my edges, I get all the way to the edges without then having a wet gluey glob that has to kind of be wiped off. And then I'm using Fabri-Tac, and I've just put these into smaller bottles because it's easier. I've tried using these kind of little precision nozzles, and they just, I don't know, they just get really jammed up really fast and easily, and I have no patience. So I'm basically just using this tiny little bottle with the nozzle as is, and just giving it a little bit of extra of, this is Fabri-Tac, so that hopefully it's a better hold than the glue stick alone, and it'll be a little sturdier. So then I am lining this up right up against that spine that I made. And we're gonna put that down. Make sure that gets a nice hold there. And that's the start to your journal. So this will be your cover right here, and this will be your middle panel. And then you're gonna take your 3/8 inch guy, and you might wanna go ahead and ink up your outside, your fold that you made for the spine as well. Up to you. I like those edges inked. Okay, and then that guy is gonna come in here like this. So we're gonna do the same thing with our glue stick on here. And it's funny because when I first started figuring out how to do these things, it's very difficult, and I've been doing so many of them, I've gotten very used to it. So I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. I will try to slow down a little bit here, but you can always pause me too if you need to. So then what I'm gonna do with this guy is, again, line him up right up against the spine that I made. I did get a little bit too much Fabri-Tac right at the edge there, but that's okay because this is where our spine is gonna go. So we're gonna cover up that seam anyway with some book cloth or ribbon or something that you like. So that's the basic start of your little folding envelope journal. So now we're gonna add our last pocket here, and he goes in over here like this. So on the back side of his flap, we're gonna get some glue, especially edges with the glue stick, and then some Fabri-Tac in the middle. Give that extra hold, hopefully. And then we're gonna line this guy up in here. Again, right up against that spine I created, and I'm kind of eyeballing it to get it in the middle, which, I mean, you don't have to do. You can put it off to one side, up closer to the top, or down lower, closer to the bottom if you want. I like it in the middle. And there's your flat. Very nice. Make sure we didn't get any icky glue in there. And that's the bones of your journal. So the next thing that I would usually do is figure out what I'm going to use for a closure. And I tend to like, I'm a big twine girl. I tend to like these. I got this pack of all these different twines that I've been using as closures. I think because this is going to be opera themed, we'll go with this one. So I'm going to go to the back panel, right? So if I'm folded up like this, right, you've got your cover over here, and this is going to be where your closure goes, is over here. So I'm just folding that sucker up like this, like what it'll look like when it's closed, and then flipping over to what will be the back panel. And we're going to take this guy and we're going to glue him to the back panel. He's going to come around here, and as you'll see our sample here, it comes around and loops around the button closure. So I'm going to give myself a good amount, put the rest of that away, and go ahead and glue this guy. I'm just going to go ahead and use Fabri-Tac. This page is going to get all covered over, as you can see, so it's not a big deal. You can kind of give that guy a good amount of glue right about in the middle where you want him to go, and then lay that sucker down on there and just leave that to dry for a little bit before you mess with it